Some stories are heard, others become legendary. Welcome to the Becoming Legendary podcast, hosted by Ana Rita Valente, the visibility architect and the fame activator. Real stories, raw conversations, legendary impact.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Becoming Legendary. I need to stop with this intro because I need to change the name because becoming a majority of the people that I have with me, they are legendary. And Barry, hi.
How are you, Rita?
I'm excited. Maybe I will have some tears, but it's going to be a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
You just said to me you want to share. So I know a lot about you, but I like to live things raw.
Absolutely.
And so, who are you?
Who am I? It's interesting. I That question is hard for me to believe
Oh,
because prior to July 10th of
imposter
2020,
syndrome.
yes. Well,
I have
I
a
never would
cool
have figured that
exercise for
I'd be
you.
here.
Okay.
I never would have guessed uh, that I would bare my soul to hundreds of thousands of people about the darkest day of my life. No, that would not have been. But um, and I believe it's a God thing. That's how I'm here because this story needs to be told.
It's very interesting because I am at this exactly moment passing one of the most, and I know it doesn't look like, but one of the most darkest moments of my life.
Yeah,
But I have been having guests like you, not all, but, and there is a knowing on people who have resilience. Then normally we are, even though, and I'm just talking for me, even
yeah.
though I did want to time out many times, and I always joke, it's like a very dark joke, but I always joke, I can achieve anything, and I failed many times on what I did want to achieve. And there's like, I don't even want to go there. It's like, I don't want to jump from a building because like, I'm not sure if I was going to. It's a very interesting, but I don't fail. I always find a way. And nope, no. Um, and I have been having people talking about going through what we normally call hell in all ways,
Yeah,
forms, shapes, from losing everything, me, for example, thousands of times. The most important things, living. I like to say that I'm living the biggest nightmare of my life. My biggest nightmare was to be alone. And I had 5 kids. Since my mom died, I never did, like, I jumped from relationship to relationship because I did not want to be alone. I did give because I did not want anyone to leave me. And guess what? I found myself some months ago totally alone in a different country with no friends, no family, with frozen accounts, and in a certain way, I think I I don't know. I want to listen to you, but it was like, oh, okay. So now I'm looking to my biggest fear, and I'm still here, and I can still laugh.
yeah.
So
Having a sense of humor in life, I would argue that that's probably one of the most critical things, and you got to have the ability to laugh at yourself.
100%. Oh, I
because
do. I do.
crazy stuff happens and you
I
just,
do. And in many times, like from life in the world, sometimes like what happens is so sarcastic. It's like, really?
yeah, yeah.
But
But that's really,
but this is not about me. I always have
no.
this tendency of hijack my favorite guests. So tell us.
So really what I was going to say is I live by the phrase when something heartbreaking happens to you, the most you can hope for is to make something very good come from
I totally agree with that.
it. That's really
It's
that's all
that
you
is
can do is try to
it's
make something good come from it.
it's becoming because I have this theory, I don't know if you agree. Sometimes the pain is it's so hard to survive. And many times because we look to the situation from and I'm not even talking about people take themselves as a victim. Let's forget that. Because I don't think if you
I
have that
don't like that.
mentality, you can revert.
Yeah.
As well, people who can overcome many things can be addict to the phoenix version of themselves. I know because I was like that. I was so used to lose all and create again. Then when every single thing was okay, I was like, okay, how can we destroy this in any way? Um, but um, but pain, suffering, darkness is energy,
It is.
and you can pick up that energy and transform in something else.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do a very dumb because I'm on the middle. I'm in Mexico, but I'm on the middle of nowhere and I'm full of cows. But I'm going to pick up a very dumb thing that I was saying in the other podcast. Many people pick up what cows don't need and will drop on the floor and use that to grow plants, fruits, and etc. Right?
Yes.
If you love mushrooms as I do, I love mushrooms. Not I'm talking about the normal ones, but I love mushrooms, and mushrooms are normally grow on top of a
Yeah.
horse. So I'm with you now. Your story.
So, one of the things that occurred to me before I started in my story is you talked about pain, and pain is fertile ground for radical change. Don't waste that pain because it's there and it's an energy. Grief is an energy, and it can be used for positive things or negative things, but it's going to be used for something. And uh, that's the big thing I've learned over the last 20 years. So my son died of alcohol poisoning on the day he moved out on his own.
I know. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I told I know, but I suppose it. I know it did touch me. I'm very vulnerable, very raw on my podcasts. I'm very honest, and this comes from a time in my life when I was very famous, and people did love to do blackmail with me with secrets that I had. So I like to tell. I never had problems with alcohol. I never did drink. I I did all the other things, but I never did drink until I was 40. And the last 4 years of my life, for decisions that I took, I I don't want to put a title, but I use alcohol, then I don't even like to cope with many
Right.
things. The good thing was I'm made of a weird material, then I could handle and not even having headaches or whatever. But after 4 years to play that game, when and normally I was in a very abusive relationship, so I was not aware then that was a mechanism of me to, and I have anxiety as well. And both things, I have panic attacks, then it's worse. And I started drinking because my body took me to red wine. I never did drink in my life. So when I was reading your story, I did need to stop 2 seconds and I did need to think about myself. I need to think about my dad, who did die in the same way.
Yeah.
A little bit more because you wanted, and my kids as well.
Yeah.
And sorry to hijack that such an
That's okay.
important part, but I don't think we're talking enough about that.
Yeah.
We talk about overdose of other things, but I I when I was reading, I was like, how is that possible? Do you believe? Then and I consider myself a woman with a lot of knowledge about many different things. And I was like, can you it and my mind was oh.
It can happen. It 100% can happen. And that's part of the awareness is that it is very possible to have that happen. I don't think anybody at the party that he was at, it really occurred to them. I mean, when he passed out, they laid him in his bed and went in and shaved his head and his legs because he was just passed out, right? But his buddy Craig kept going back in to check on him, and calls started coming into 911. The first calls were difficulty breathing, next calls were not breathing. My son died alone in a hospital while I slept peacefully in my bed.
It's not your fault.
You know, that's true, but as a parent,
I
you
know.
still,
I know.
well, as a parent,
I
you're
told
a
you we
parent.
are going to cry. But it's not your fault.
Well, the most I can hope for is to make something very good come from this. And that's
Yeah.
really what my focus has been. And those aren't my words.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you about something that happened a couple days later.
Mm.
I was laying in bed. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, wide awake. And I just had this feeling like that feeling when somebody walks in the room and they're behind you or something. And then there was a light I'd never seen before and haven't seen since. And there was a message. And the message was that he didn't suffer and something very good would come from this. And I'm not here to tell you it made everything okay because it didn't.
I know.
But changing something like this is a life-changing event. And it also changed my purpose because finding that purpose in life is so important.
No, when you don't have a purpose in life, I think it's the worst. For example, my purpose in life, a certain moment in my life was to be famous. And then I did not enjoy the experience. And but stories as yours for me is a pleasure. Now I don't like to say I make people famous. I amplify their stories for people to wonder. I don't believe in this time people don't want to be coach. People want to wonder. And it was exactly what did happen to me. And it's very interesting what you are telling because um, 5 years ago, exactly now, I took the hardest decision of my life. Then was to not return home. I have 5 kids, majority of them adults. I have a little girl with a very special father. Let's put it like that. And my other kids, so we are a blended family. and my other kids were living. I had the power, the paternal authority, but they were living there. And I could not stay in that relationship anymore, but at the same time, I could not explain to my children why, and I still cannot. It was too heavy, and I did prefer to take myself. It's very weird because your mind, like you lose the capacity of taking whatever you are going to do, and especially because I don't have family. There, no one was there to tell me, okay, do this or do that or whatever, and I was in fear, not for them because I did know that part was perfect, was what was happening to me all
Right.
in the last 7 years. The story why I'm telling you this, and that is the reason why I drink alcohol. So that is the comes the shame in the it was never then I did need to drink to party. Never.
Right.
I am that person who's always happy. And then obviously I choose a person who did confirm that I was a terrible person because and that when you feel bad, it took me a lot of time to understand, and it was the biggest sacrifice of my life. But there is a very interesting part of the story that you are telling about the light. My mom died when I was 10, and I never did dream with my mom, and I don't sleep on the afternoon normally. And there is a day in the middle when this situation is starting, and there is a day then I kind of, like a lucid dream. I see her in bed next to me. My mom died when she was 39. In that time, I was 41. And I told her, and we are the same, so we are could be friends, right? And she was laying down next to me. And I remember the first dumb thing I said was, "Oh, finally, I'm going to teach you how to drive," because my mom never did drove, did prefer. She did like was the first thing I told. Like, it makes no sense. And I told her, I'm not so hoo-hoo, but this story really touched
Yeah.
my heart.
Oh, I'm the same way.
And
Yeah.
I told my mom, I don't know how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to live without the most important people of my life. And for my choice, knowing what they are believing and not being able to tell them the truth because that will traumatize them. This is such a and she held my hand and she said, "This is the hardest thing you are going to do. This is the hardest thing you are going to make. But because of not being with them, you are going to be able to give all your energy to people who have a message to change the world. And it's going to be the hardest thing ever." And then she said, "I need to go." And then I told her how I know this is true. And she said, "You will know it's true." Oh no, and there was another thing. I was full depressive and I could not work. I was not able to handle a Zoom call like we are doing right now.
Hmm.
And I said, "I have no money. I don't know how I'm going to survive." And she said, "Don't worry." And I woke up, I looked at my phone, and on my Facebook was a message of my auntie with her sister with who I did not spoke for 25 years, would just send me a message on that moment telling then my I was never connected with the family of my mom. I was always raised by the family of my father. They lived on the north of Portugal. I grew up in Africa. And they said, "We have inheritance for you. Where can we send you that?"
Oh,
And
wow.
that allowed me to heal and to start my business.
Good.
So I never did dream with her anymore.
I still have dreams about Kevin, but in the dreams, every dream I've had, I'm not surprised to see him. He's
Yeah.
never been dead. And I don't know if that's normal or not, but in my dreams, I'm not surprised to see him because in my dreams,
And he
he's still
grows, he
alive.
change age with the dream, or he's still on the same age.
Same age,
Yeah, it's very
100%.
interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
my mom had the same age, and in that moment I was
Yeah.
older than
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So that happened, and where you start?
So I remember going to pick up his ashes. And I went down to the funeral home, walk into the funeral home, and they've got nice pictures on the wall, and they're playing music in the background. They take me into an office, sit me down on a big comfortable chair, a big desk in front of me. And a funeral director walks in, sets an urn down in front of me. An urn that held all the remains of the kid that I burped, changed his diapers, coached all of his sports. I taught him to shoot a gun and swing a golf club. All the remains of him were sitting in an urn in front of me. But there's one thing I knew at that point, and that was that I didn't want to be a victim because the world doesn't need any more victims. We've got plenty already. The world needs people who take something heartbreaking and bad and make something very good come from it. And I thought about what I would hope somebody else would do. And for me, really, the answer was pretty easy. It was just get out and tell the story, not for the money, because there is no money in the world that'll fix the hurt. It doesn't exist. The only thing that helps is to try to make something good come from such a senseless tragedy. And that's what I've spent the last 20 years doing.
Many times, many times, people. I don't know. I think some people. Well, I was having a conversation with another guest the other day. We were talking about the brain and how people who, I don't want to say more intelligent, like how people. Oh, we are talking about the change. Then people, the brain doesn't like change. But there is crazy people as myself that are so used to change. Like I lived in 56 countries. And the
Wow.
last 12 months, I moved 3 continents. Yeah, have been interesting. What is not necessarily good, because sometimes you are running away from yourself, and the idea of moving is just a placebo.
Right.
But I was talking about I cannot handle victims
Yeah.
because what I was going to say was then um, I have an idea. Maybe because I grew up in Africa, and maybe because I lost my mom, and maybe because every single abuse you can imagine did occur to me. So all of that, even like not knowing what my child is, my youngest child is for 3 years, not having any idea, not being able to find. But even though when I don't complain, I just like try. I feel the pain, and sometimes I feel like why? Because I used to take the responsibility of all things because I did believe then I was in control. But many people ask me, how can you be so happy and you are always smiling with so much thing what did happen to you? And I said, I think if you take to a child who for 10 years is raised at home with her mom and her dad working on the office, her grandma and her grandfather taking care of her, teaching her at home, and all the people did work on the house, plus the dogs and the cats and the horses and the trees and she have all these friends of their parents, and when she's 4 she can explain export and import, and you have all of that, and in a moment to the other that is all gone, because I lost my dad as well mentally in that moment when my mom died, and all what came after. It's like I see, it's even painful to say this, and maybe it's not, well, but I see many people who have, oh, and complain and cry because they broke a nail and they cannot fix their nail that day. And uh, I don't know if it's because I'm in premenopause. Like, I arrived to a moment, and I used to be that kind of person that's like, how very sweet as well, because I did want everyone to like me. But like, uh, being a victim doesn't let you move. Being
Yeah.
a victim, I have no idea what feels to lose a child. I just know what is to lose a father or mother.
Hmm.
But that make me say I love you to every person in my life for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
because I never know if they are there. The reason
Right.
why I had 5 kids was because I was scared to lose one.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily saying that is the good thing, but being a victim is annoying,
Yeah.
because it looks like sometimes I ask, when I start losing my patience, I ask, like, what is your intention? What is so important for you? What your neighbors think about your new car? Are you serious upset because you lost your 20 years old Facebook account? Did happen to me.
Yeah.
And you know what I did is like, okay, that means then it's time to restart all over again.
Yeah.
But not everyone is like us. Why? Because it's for the attention, or is because they need to make less? Because healing is tough. Healing is the hardest, and the worst part is the most you heal, the most you feel that you need to heal. So, why,
Well,
why people are so different?
I mean, you have to understand that all these things sort of create you. And in the case of your mother dying, um, when your mother died, the old you died with your mother. In my case, when my son passed away, I died. The old me died.
Yeah.
There's a new person there, and you have to define who that is. You'll never go back to that day. And that's the thing is you can't go back and feel the way you did before that happened. You will never feel that way again.
Do you know I had a moment some months ago when I have a tendency to choose very wrong my husbands, at least the last ones. I do a collection, but when I was being stalking, attack, you name it. I even I make music, and I said, "You wanted an angel, she died soft. Now you have a villain." It's not that I became a villain, but there was some shift on my head. Then I was like, no, this is not fair. This girl at 10, or this girl at 13, or this woman who spent the last 4 years crying for not speaking with her kids. I start speaking with my kids slowly. So I have few back in my life, what is a beautiful gift. Um, she did not deserve. So it's like now I have this new, it's like the old sister who come and is like, no, you are not doing this.
Yeah.
I think then a part of me died many times with the trauma or with what did happen.
Right.
Or I never did lose a child, but I did lost a pregnancy. And all that kind of things. And then people say, but why looks like it always happens to you. And in reality, it looks like my life is really different than the other ones. But I think it's because the other people don't try to think out of the box and do things different. The majority of fathers will be sad for the rest of life. I'm not saying with the full respect, you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But you are picking up your baby
Yeah.
in using his story
Yeah.
for no one else goes through the same.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
if okay, how can people get you or talk with you or what you have or
Well, there's few ways to get a hold of me. On Facebook, it's Kevin's Last Walk, all one
I'm going
word.
to share the
And,
links. But
and
what is like I got you and what you have for me?
I don't think I understood what you said.
So do you have a book or do you have
Oh, I have a couple of things. Yes, I wrote a
a
book after I walked to Montana. I wasn't going to write a book, but I decided to write a book. That's on Amazon. It's called Kevin's Last Walk, A Father's Final Journey with His Son. And now, after telling them the story all these years, I've started the Million Mile Challenge because all those stories out there, like yours and everybody else's, those stories need to be heard because those stories might help somebody else.
that is the reason why becoming legendary have a reason, and I'm going to tell you very fast. Some months ago, I was wrong. Someone told me that I had a cancer in my brain, and I had 3 months to live.
Oh,
And yeah, very interesting. And I was driving my motorcycle, and I was thinking about my daughter, and I was thinking about how can we never die? And came the word becoming legendary,
yeah,
sharing your stories. And if I was doing that already, but I've really focused in doing this because I know I have the ability, I have the contacts, I have the magazines, I have all of that, and can happen any moment, anywhere. And I even would like to know, not now, but maybe you can give me some content like how happens, what should we be aware of, or because I don't know. I have an idea about if it's like drugs because I saw it 300 times on the movies, but I don't know enough about it, alcohol. So we could like put together something to kind of guide. Um, thank you.
you bet. I appreciate you having me on.
I I think your story deserves his story.
Yeah. I
His
call
story.
it Kevin's story. It's
His
really both
story.
of our stories, but I call it
His
Kevin's story.
story. I'm going to tell you enough because it's a secret. Right now, is just what is coming to me. But Can I do a hardcore question?
Yes.
A message then you could send to that dad in that day, right now,
To who?
to yourself on that day.
Tell them it's going to be okay. Something very good will come from this. And, those dark moments, you don't see the light.
Do you know your whole spectrum is shining and looks like we are talking about something else? Then it's super cool. I'm going to say bye to these people, bye to you properly in 1 second. There is something else then you want to share?
Join the Million Mile Challenge because everybody's got a story. And a lot of times, as you mentioned, there's shame, there's guilt, there's disappointment, and you're not alone. It's about telling your story and doing some walking and see if we can get to 1 million miles.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay. If you are listening to this or seeing and you don't have tears on your eyes, I don't know what are you made of. But crying is one of my favorite things in the world. Keep living your dreams and make it happen. Thank you, Barry. My name
Thank
is
you.
Ana Rita Valente, and this is Becoming Legendary. Bye bye.